What's up, YouTube fam? One sec. Much better. What's up, YouTube fam? It's been a minute. I miss you guys. But one thing is, I haven't wasted any time in the last few months. What I done was it a few months or a few weeks? I would say about 1 month. I was away going on a lot of vacation and doing a lot of content creating using some of the newest gears that I bought. I know us photographers, videographers, whatever you want to call it, we always tend to get carried away with the new gear. But what I have done is learn to utilize the new gear by hurting myself, doing all kinds of fun stuff, but I got my hands dirty. And today I'm going to show you another short film that I created going upstate New York. But before that, let's hit that intro. Man, I hope you guys enjoyed that video as much as I did. Personally, I said even when I first started my channel that everything was going to be revolved around me doing content creation regarding the fun things I do with my friends, right? So that being said, the trip upstate, and mind you, this is my first time even using and learning how to fly a drone, taking the certification to do it all legally and safely. All that I jump started before going to the trip because I wanted to make sure that part of my creative process, I wanted to add something that where it involves me flying above or going places where me and my camera can't go. Like for instance, high elevation or catching a nice sunrise from where I am. I won't be able to do that. I have to hike about 2-3 miles just to get a nice video. Whereas I can fly my drone, keep it line of sight, right? FAA. I kept my drone out and I got a chance to capture some beautiful footages, right? One of the things I want to discuss, especially coming so far into 2023, I just wanted to talk about a few of my gears that I have come across that has been my everyday carry, EDC. Speaking of EDC, got a new Peace Prior Life coin. This thing is super cool. Like if you could see it, like it is something that over time I just get more and more attached to it because I just keep one of these in my bag at all times, but I digress, right? But the drone that I picked up was the Mavic 3. I read a lot of reviews online, but you know, reviews can only go so far. But one thing I wanted to know was that whether or not my everyday carry regarding creating short films, travel films, photography, was that I needed something that can fly up in the air for a decent amount of time. And this bad boy, I think online it says flight time was 45 minutes, and it gave me somewhere around 40 to 45 minutes of flight time. And one thing for sure, this is a really powerful tool, but use it with care. One of the fun facts I'm gonna share with you, in my first few days learning how to fly in my backyard in my friend's house, was that I have cut my finger, right? You might ask, why am I happy? This thing has like 1,000 sensors around it. One thing I'll tell you, flying a Mavic 3, first of all, this thing is strong and this thing is fast. Don't underestimate it. Second thing, there's a setting I came across in terms of the omnidirectional sensors all around the drone. You put it into bypass, the drone moves a lot more faster, kind of like a car on sport mode. So what happened was I tried to land it in my hand and bam, it sliced my finger open because it noticed my hand as an obstacle and tried to avoid landing in my hand and cut my finger open. Just one thing to keep in mind, but you know, you live and you learn. It's better to learn all the safety features of the drone before flying and taking it somewhere where you can put others at risk than to test out everything on your own, so you know when you're out there, you're certified and you know what you do. But that's one tool that I loved, because not only that you can shoot it at 5.1K, it's oversampled, and I always export everything in 4K in all my YouTube videos, Instagram videos with 1080. The quality is absolutely phenomenal. Of course, I use D-Log, flat profile. You know how to expose it properly using the lighting at the proper side. It does give you the most beautiful footage. But that's not the main focus on my topic today. For the last few years, I've been using my A7S III. That has been my go-to when shooting everything. I'm actually shooting in my beloved A7S III right now, just like my first YouTube video I shot more than 6 months ago. What I wanted to get into is the most underrated camera. I feel like something most people don't talk about because of all the new gears that are coming out. A7R5, A7, I don't even know. I think they have so many alpha cameras come out, I even lost track. But I want to go talk about my A7IV. This is a rig I got. It's a tilted cage, something I've been using when I was traveling. One thing I learned that when I travel, I want my case to be as nimble and light as possible. But you can't do that when you have a bunch of gear, like when you have a RS3 Pro, my gimbal sitting over there in the bag. No, you want to have fun and you carry as much little as possible. So when I took this camera out, there are a few pointers I'm going to talk about, right? So when I first thought about getting the A7IV, one thing I'll tell you is the biggest thing I seen was about the overheating issue. Well, I'll tell you one thing. Ever since I took my camera right out of the box, the one time I had overheating issue was before I turned the actual setting off for overheating. Ever since then, my camera never overheated ever again, and I used it for photo, for video, on weddings, travel photography, everything you can think of, and literally just using one lens, a 24mm G Master. And it has been my workhorse. It has done everything and anything I needed to do. Now, the advantages of using the A7IV in comparison to even my A7S III. Number one, 33 megapixels. I'm sure you guys know. A7S III, you can make it work when it comes to shooting certain photos. You'll get away with it in terms of social media. But in terms of everything else, you're going to struggle because I pixel peep. I'm a perfectionist, so when I do blow up my picture and I see the details, if I miss something, I don't like it. That's why I go on my A7IV. That's number one. Number two, so many people talk about the crop factor. And I always wonder, man, I think crop factor is something I'm gonna dislike highly. Wrong. One thing I'll tell you is I shot a few weddings, I shot a few events, and this thing actually came in handy more than anything. And I'll tell you why. This is something that's not mentioned. First of all, the camera's downsampled from 7K, which means that when you downsample the 7K from my A7IV and then you downsample the 5.1K from my Mavic 3, you get some pretty high footages, high quality footages, right? That's number one. Number two, whenever you're shooting 60p on this thing, it does that 1.5 crop, or it's 1 point something, I don't know the exact numbers. It crops in. So essentially when I was shooting in my 35mm, it turned into a 50mm. Okay, that's number one. It didn't just end there. Whenever you go ahead and put steady shot on and put it as active, it crops in one more time. So that's double crop. So essentially I had a 35mm turn into a 70mm almost. Imagine having a prime lens and using that prime lens as 3 different focal points just based on the settings that you're using. I thought that was phenomenal because nothing is more annoying than carrying a big zoom lens. I mean, 24-70 or 7200, whatever you want to call it. But when you crank up that setting on this camera, you use it, you put 60p plus active steady shot, you get different focal lengths that are actually beneficial to you. But here's the kicker. When that 7K sensor kicks in, when you zoom in, you don't really notice there's any loss in quality. And the dynamic range, honestly, is phenomenal. Like if you like an A7S II dynamic range, you will not go wrong when it comes to the A7IV. This has been my workhorse. All you have to do is make sure you have something that is reliable. You want to have a monitor, right? This is something I threw in the last month because I knew I was going to travel and I did not want to carry a bunch of things into my hands. So I got a small monitor from Freewell, right? Just to get me to see certain things in daytime. I got a handle and made this cage as heavy as possible. So when I am shooting my videos, it's steady without having to use a gimbal. And especially when you use active steady shot and you know how to use proper footing, you won't even need anything else other than just proper technique. That being said, the short film came out perfectly and I just wanted to talk about that today. Hopefully you guys do your comparison and check out the A7IV even in 2023, because I think with all these new cameras coming out, a lot of the older Sony Alpha cameras tend to get thrown out because, oh, you know what? It's not the newest, but just because it's not new, don't disregard it. Use it properly and use it nicely, because I think the best bang for the buck, you could even get it in the used market for even less than $2,000. Throw on a GM lens on it and you can use this thing for years on coming, okay? And my next video, I'm probably gonna talk about how to properly fly a drone and all the precautions you should take, because you live and you learn. I like to take precautions before doing anything using my gear, especially that can pose a safety hazard. But this thing, I'm telling you, it is so much fun that I think I'm gonna be taking it in so many other places when I travel, and it's gonna be a good time. Anyways, guys, I'm gonna keep this video short and simple. I just wanted to share the new gears I've been using, what I've been doing. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And let me know what you think in the comment section. Let me know if you guys still think the A7IV is something good, or whether or not all the new AI featured cameras that are coming out are gonna be better. Let me know your opinions, let me know your thoughts. As content creators, we try to get the best deal, right? But let's see. Let me know. Z out. Peace.